We are on week 4, and here's my pitch for a Joyful Mind Studio. At a Joyful Mind Studio, we believe that therapy isn't just for people in crisis, it's necessary for everyone. Therapy is our starting point because life is complex, emotions have layers, and healing shouldn't be reserved for emergencies. But we go beyond the traditional models because we know that mental health doesn't live in a vacuum. It's shaped by how you move, how you eat, rest, and connect to others. That's why we've created a studio where therapy is our foundation and your full well being is our whole focus. Alongside licensed therapists, clients have access to yoga for emotional regulation, resilience groups for social healing, nutrition support to help fuel the mind, and exercise coaching to build physical strength and confidence. Our trauma-informed team collaborates so that clients feel supported and not like they're in a silo. Whether someone is working through anxiety, grief, burnout, or just navigating life's transitions, they'll find a path that meets them where they are and helps them to grow. We're launching as a hybrid model with a welcoming physical space and virtual options to allow for flexibility. Our goal is to make mental health feel as natural as going to a yoga class or a gym, because that's how it should be. At a Joyful Mind Studio, therapy isn't a last resort, it's the first step toward thriving. So that is my 2-minute pitch. I think I'm about a minute and a half, maybe. And then looking at the questions for this week. So, how do you create end user demand? So really for us, end user demand would be created by highlighting how people struggle with getting started in therapy. There's such a stigma around it. And again, we want to break that down and get people in the door. So also we're offering new solutions that are packaged in a method that really like normalizes therapy. So when I say it's like going to yoga or going to the gym, it's that same kind of idea of self-care is okay, and this is just another level and another part of us that we're working with. So we're providing like that kind of one destination to both help and hopefully offer some hope. Again, we would like it to feel approachable, so that's really, how we put that end user demand is you can see that people really want that out of therapy instead of being scared or thinking it's fearful or thinking that something's wrong or broken with them. So channels, I do plan on highlighting kind of in a couple of different ways. And one of the ways is using targeting ads on social media. I know we probably all are like, oh, it's overused. But at the end of the day, it really works. A lot of people find things like therapy services or t-shirts that they want to buy. Like it's right there in front of us so that we click on it and think, oh, look, it's been normalized because it's in our life in this way that we are willing to accept. So putting that opportunity out there. A couple of other things that I wanted to focus on with looking at the different channels is also our in-person partnerships, either with work businesses to kind of offer a well-being and that approach, or also looking at primary care physicians, social workers, OBGYNs, anybody who's kind of coming into the healthcare system and really they're looking for an alternative. Things just don't feel quite right, or they want some help with kind of regulating things. So we really feel like that's our front line for a lot of our knowledge base, or sorry, a lot of our referrals coming in. So what kind of need or category are we in? So we're already we already have an existing need. Therapy is needed. Whether we admit it or don't admit it, it's needed. Um, so we know that there's a market and it's oftentimes missing that integration into wellness. And what does wellness really mean for us? How do we quantify it? How do we add value in our life in different ways through looking at our wellness and our well-being? And a lot of that for us, again, is going to start at that therapeutic level where we're getting people to recognize and start admitting those pieces. Um, so it would definitely be a blend of both the um, sorry. It'll definitely be a blend of both of the kind of categories to really show that we're helping to reimagine what well-being looks like. Lastly was the marketing, sales, like that whole section. And so a lot of our marketing, again, would be through the social media platforms. I think it's, again, a great way to do things. One of the other things I was thinking of is kind of like a niche-y way to get people there, especially as I want to still move toward hopefully doing the pop-up, is doing like a Thrive Thursday, because I know we have, you know, every day of the week is something. So I wanted to do Thrive Thursdays and really incorporate that word thrive, because I think I've like fallen in love with it as kind of one of the mission statements. Is that's what we want at the end of the day, is wanting people to thrive. Um, so Thrive Thursdays would be, they would start with a small group session, really about like, let's define what thrive means. How do we overcome barriers? So you start getting that like little itty bitty grain of sand of the therapeutic side, but you're also doing it in kind of a community of safe place. So if there's other people in the room who start to open up and start to share and start to tell their stories, it's a lot easier for the masses to then say, oh, wait, this is normal and it's okay that we're going through this. So I really figured, you know, the way you pull people in is you make it safe first instead of pulling them in and then saying, okay, it's safe. So to do that safety piece, there would be like a little group session, again, talking about what Thrive is, talking about barriers, talking about resilience techniques, or things that we can do to like move ourselves that little bit closer to where we want to be. And then that would be followed by the yoga class. So it would probably be about an hour workshop. We do therapy for about 30 minutes. And then you have the yoga class, and really getting to see that crossover benefit and having the instructor talk about that trauma piece and how our body, you know, takes in trauma, how it stores it, where it feels like on our bodies, and how things like yoga and some breathing technique can really help us to make that reset. So that would be the Thrive Thursday idea for our marketing plan too. And like I said, especially if we do pop-ups, because we can like pop up a Thrive Thursday anywhere. We don't need to have a building or a setup. You know, you can do it at any public park. So the idea of having that little piece. Real quick before I exhaust all of my time is my client interviews went, I don't know if it's bonkers or not, but a little bit off. I did basically like a focus group because making therapy safe, I wanted to have a safe place where people felt free to talk. But in doing a focus group, instead of just walking up to people and saying, you know, what's your need in therapy? It did kind of lend itself to being people that I know or people that I don't know, but they know somebody that I know. So kind of some cultural social circling. So I am aware of that in the way that I did client interviews or did the focus group this time, but a couple of interesting things came out. A lot of people had some really great discussions around like the package plan. But one of the things that was interesting is they said, you know, what if you set up something like a punch card system? So basically rewarding people for going to therapy, which I thought was amazing. So incentivizing them where we have a punch card that says, okay, if you go 10 times to therapy sessions, then you get a yoga class for free. So again, even if you're paying for it, so I like to think about it like if your gym said, hey, if you show up one time every month for 11 months, you get your 12th month for free. You would be like, game on, let's do this. And so you have that motivation to show up because you're already paying for it and you want to get to the free thing. So, like, I'm going to show up 10 times because I want to get to the free thing. So, we talked about that as one of our marketing options and one of the options that we can offer inside of our program. One of the big things too that came up was, you know, the convenience of gyms a lot of times or yoga studios is they're after hours and on Saturdays. And one of the inconveniences of therapy is it's often an 8 to 5 kind of job. So there's not usually, unless you go through telehealth or platforms online, there's not usually a way to get therapy at 5 o'clock in the morning. But I could catch a yoga class at 5 o'clock in the morning. So one of the things that they talked about while trying to be realistic, that instructors and therapists want to have normal hours and normal times with their family. But one of the things that they did talk about was trying to see if there's a variation of those hours to where we could provide this again with that convenience piece at a time that works for people. So those were kind of our conversations. Really what we pulled down from the conversations, like I said, it went a little bit haywire. But looking at that rewards and then looking at changing hours and making those shifts. And the other thing was opening it up to businesses. A lot of them talked about if my company did this for me and I was able to participate, like I would definitely participate and I wouldn't be as angry with my company. I wouldn't feel that burnout piece. So we really talked about the applications in business. And that was a great conversation to be able to start like gathering data for why businesses would buy into this. So that is my 2-minute pitch and about a 10-minute discussion about the questions. I look forward to feedback. Thank you.